Hi everyone, I'm Iis Sugiarti. Tonight I wanna explain you about a branch of linguistics. The first branch of linguistics is a phonology. Phonology is a branch of linguistics that studies the sounds of language. The first object of phonological study is the sound of language, which is called sound system or phonetics. And the sound second examines phonemes, which is called phonemic system. There is a sequence of process in which the sounds of the language occur into three types of phonetics. The first type is articulatory phonetics. Articulatory phonetics studies how the mechanism of human speech organs work in producing language sounds and how these sounds are classified. Second, acoustic phonetics is a studies the sounds of language as physical events or natural phenomena. The sounds are investigated for their vibrational frequency, amplitude, and natural intensity. And the third, auditory phonetics is studies how the mechanism of receiving language sounds by our ears. Phonemics is a branch of phonological studies that studies the sounds of language by paying attention to the function of these sounds are differentiators of meaning. Thus, it can be said that the phonemic term can be defined as the smallest functional language unit, meaning that the phoneme unit has a function to distinguish meaning. And the second branch of linguistics is of morphology. Morphology is defined as the study of these meaning-bearing units and the rules governing them. So, morphology studies about morpheme and word formation. Morphemes are the smallest meaningful units of language. Why morpheme is most meaningful unit of language? It is minimal because it cannot be further divided into smaller units. It is meaningful in that it stands for something confined in the speaker meaning. Firstly, morpheme divided into two, free morpheme and bound morpheme. And free morpheme divided into two, lexical morpheme or open class and functional morpheme or closed class. And the bound morpheme is divided into two too, derivational morpheme and inflectional morpheme. And the word formation is the creation of new words, process of forming a word. The third branch of linguistics is a syntax. The part of grammar that represents speakers' knowledge of sentence and their structure is called syntax. Syntax is a branch of linguistics that is concerned with the study of the structure of a sentence and ordering of its elements. The sentence structure is determine plus noun plus verb plus determine and plus noun. This template says that a determiner is followed by a noun, which is followed by a verb, and so on. And the next branch of linguistics is a semantics. Semantics is the subfield that studies meaning. Semantics involves the construction of words, signals, and sentence structure. It influences our reading comprehension as well as our comprehension of other people's words in everyday conversation. The branch of linguistics and logic concerned with meaning. There are a number of branches and sub-branches of semantics, including formal semantics, which studies the logical aspects of meaning, such as sense, reference, implication, and logical form. Lexical semantics, which studies word meanings and word relation, and conceptual semantics, which studies the cognitive structure of meaning. And the next branch is pragmatics. Pragmatics is the study of relationship between language and the context in which it is spoken and how it is used in a speaker and a listener. In short, pragmatics is the science of studying and explaining the use of language used by speaker and listener in certain situations, and how the condition of language use are determined by the social context. Yeah. Pragmatics is the study of all aspects of meaning included in semantics theory, meaning after being reduced by semantics. The meaning of semantic and pragmatic is almost the same. If semantics is the study of the relationship with the expression or meaning of a speaker, which only affects the individual perspective, while pragmatics is the study of the relationship between the concept outside the language and the meaning of speech through the interpretation of the narrative situation. And the next is psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is a multidisciplinary science in the form of a combination of psychology and linguistics. Psycholinguistics studies that psychological and neurobiological factors that enable humans to acquire, use, and understand language. And the branch of psycholinguistics: first, any theoretical psycholinguistics is examines matters relating to language theory, for example, about the nature of language, the characteristics of human language, and theory of competence and performance. Developmental psycholinguistics talks about language acquisition, both first and second language acquisition. Language acquisition advises critical period of language acquisition, which language is used in everyday life, what language is the main language, and the language that is easiest to use and the most important language in everyday life. Each language always have development that occur from outside influences. And the third branch of psycholinguistics is social psycholinguistics. Is often also referred to as psycholinguistic, talking about social aspects of language, such as language attitudes, cultural acculturation, culture shock, social distance, culture and critical periods, and language exposure. And the next branch is educational psycholinguistics, talks about aspects of educational in general in school, especially regarding the role of language in language teaching in general, especially in teaching reading, communication skills, speech skills, and knowledge of language improvement in improving the process of conveying ideas. And the next branch of psycholinguistics is neuropsycholinguistics, talks about the relationship between language and the human brain. And the last is experimental psycholinguistics, talks about experiments in all fields involving language and language behavior. And next is applied speaking psycholinguistics, is the application of the findings of the 6 psycholinguistic subdisciplines about in certain fields such as speaking and listening, education, language teaching and learning, reading teaching, neurology, psychiatry, communication, and literature. And the last branch of linguistics is sociolinguistics. Sociolinguistics refers to the way language is used in society. A dialect is a variety of language that is systematically different from other varieties of the same language. The dialects of single language are mutually intelligible, but when the speakers can no longer understand each other, the dialects become languages. Geographical regions are also considered when dialects become languages. Swedish, Norwegian, and Danish are all considered separate languages because of regional difference in grammar and the countries in which they are spoken. Yet Swedes, Norwegians, and Danes can all understand one another to a large extent. Hindi and Urdu are considered mutually intelligible languages when spoken, yet the writing systems are different. On the other hand, Mandarin and Cantonese are mutually unintelligible languages when spoken, yet the writing systems are the same. And a dialect is considered standard if it is used by upper-class political leaders in literature and is taught in schools as the correct form of the language. Overplastic refers to this dominant dialect. A non-standard dialect is associated with covert plastic and is an ethnic or regional dialect of language. These non-standard dialects are just as linguistically sophisticated as the standard dialect, and judgment to the inferiority of them are based on social or racist judgment. Okay, I think that's enough from me. Good night everyone, and thank you.